Andy Stumpf. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
There was that was an incredible piece, man. It really was, and thank you for writing it. I think it got around, and I hope more people get to hear it now and spread it and share it about that. You know, another brave warrior down.
Yeah, it like we were going back and forth over text. I think took off like wildfire. I was eating breakfast with my sons and had received the news from a buddy before it had broken on mainstream media, and it was just one of those moments where I couldn't get the thoughts out of my head, so I cracked open my laptop, literally took one stab at that, one pass, and just hit the post button and walked away. Came back 4 or 5 hours later, and my phone was just exploding. And yeah, I mean, it was cathartic for me to write it, and I do hope that more people can understand the message and take just 2 seconds out of their day to realize what's happening all around them, all around the world at any given time.
Any given time, it's happening.
Yep.
The sacrifices are there. And it's, you know, speaking of social media, it's been a lot of people been requesting, they've been asking, do you know Andy Stumpf? And Andy Stumpf, do you know Jocko? So yes, we do know each other. That is confirmed. And they've been asking you to come on the podcast. So thanks for coming on, man. I know we haven't really seen a bunch of each other in the last few years.
I think it's been like 5 years.
That's ridiculous.
And for all those people who've been asking, you can stop now. The answer is yes. I know Jocko. We've known each other for a while, and here we are. So stop.
We're good to go. Yeah, but really appreciate you coming on. So,
yeah.
Let's get into it, man. Let's talk about you know, give us your basic background. You know, tell us about growing up in Santa Cruz. What's up, Santa Cruz?
Man, what a great place to grow up. I mean, Santa Cruz is amazing with an asterisk. And that asterisk is whether or not at some point in time in your life you leave Santa Cruz. Yeah. Because it's a bubble. But for me, it was awesome. I have family roots there from not only my father, but my grandfather. They had one of the first construction companies there, built the high school that my father attended, built a lot of the infrastructure, and also had a lot of ties to like law enforcement and firefighters, which would help me out when I would get rides home, when I would get in trouble, you know, advantages that other people didn't have. But I mean, I consider my background is very generic. I mean, right. I played water polo and baseball in high school. I'd give myself a C as far as being an athlete, like very average. Junior lifeguards, so comfortable in and around the ocean, which was a skill that obviously paid off in training.
You didn't surf? Did you surf in Santa Cruz?
I did surf quite a bit, and I'm sure you've surfed up there. As you know, it's extremely territorial. Yeah.
It's good waves.
It's good waves, but like when you're 150 pounds, you know, and you're 17, 18 years old, I just really wasn't into, you know, fighting for waves. Yeah. So I'd surf a little bit, little longboard stuff down by Cowell's, maybe steamers if it wasn't huge. And it just played sports. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was super casual. Worked for my dad's construction company.
Santa Cruz has a dichotomy too in the fact that, especially when you were growing up, there was mad, like, okay, there's that basically, I don't know if you want to call it the haves or the have-nots, but we're not talking about money. We're talking about like massive drug use, right?
Still exists to this day. Yeah. And it's like an undercurrent that not a lot of people know about Santa Cruz. Most of the people who live in Santa Cruz don't work there. The money all comes from the Silicon Valley. They go over the Highway 17. I mean, the median cost of homes in Santa Cruz, I think, is near $800,000, which is crazy because the city was kind of built around UC Santa Cruz. I mean, it's a college. I mean, who can afford that stuff? But in the surfing scene, I mean, that's where a lot of the drug, from my understanding, that's where a lot of the drug stuff started, and then it just pushed itself out. It still exists. It's really bad. Yeah,
it can be a rough. You'd think Santa Cruz is a nice beach town, but it can be a rough town. I mean,
you make a wrong turn, you're going to be in trouble. But I mean, the same can be true here of San Diego or anywhere you may want to go.
So when did you hear about the teams and decide you're going to get it on?
Yeah, you know. So I come from a military family. My grandfather was in the Navy. My father was in the Navy. He was a twin 50 cal gunner on the Mark I's in Vietnam. Dang. The first squadron of patrol boats with the Jacuzzi jets, which he said had a failure rate of about 90%.
That had to be fun.
And of course, they didn't fail at the time that you'd want them to.
Like pulling away from the dock while you're
just in the middle of a firefight, a complex ambush that you're trying to get out of. So you can, I don't think, I actually know for a fact. My father.
Did your dad work with SEALs?
That's what I was getting to. That's how I heard about it. My father probably didn't want me to join the military.
Right.
I mean, I don't want my sons necessarily to. However, I would never stand in their way, just like my father allowed me to pursue what I wanted to do. But I started working for him when I was 11 and learned some of the best lessons of my life with bricks in my hands because he was a mason, and I basically moved bricks for a long time. But it was hard work, and it paid off later in life. And I remember we were driving back from a job when I was 11, and he mentioned SEALs, and with no understanding of what they are, just his description of what they did, it was like, they were in the water, they would get them onto the boats, they'd drop them off. It was intriguing to me. So it led me to trying to search for as much information as I could find out about them. And in the early 90s, the intranet was not what it was today. So, of course, I found the book that almost every team guy has read, The Men with Green Faces, all about Vietnam, but it's an awesome book. So I read that, and then unfortunately stumbled across the Rogue Warrior series, which, as I was saying before we started, I made the mistake of thinking that it was a nonfiction work. Didn't find out until a little bit later that was incorrect, but I was hooked. Yeah. And from that moment on, it was every piece of information that I could find. It's all I wanted to do. It was like a magnetizing force. I don't have the vocabulary to describe it. People who don't come from our worlds, it's very uncommon for them to hear that, but you know as well as I do, the SEAL teams is full of people with the same narrative. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've just always wanted to do this. It was a calling. But yeah, I mean, the idea was sparked from my dad, and I was 17, still in high school, a junior in high school, and I went to the Navy recruiter and brought the Navy recruiter home because my parents had to sign for me. And I had my mom, who was an Army brat, and my dad, who was, like I said, served in Vietnam, and I'm sure that they were not extremely excited, but they both signed for me. So I enlisted actually when I was a junior in high school and then left just a few days after high school graduation.
That's so legit.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I look back now, I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I enlist a year early? All I did was give a recruiter. I filled their quota for the month. I couldn't leave. I was like, yeah, you still got to wait till I turn 18 and graduate. But I mean, the recruiter was happy. But I mean, I never took the SATs. I had no plan B. It's what I knew I wanted to do. And I never even considered.
So what year is
else.
that?
I enlisted August 1st of 96.
Awesome.
Yep.
And so then you show up at Bud's.
Showed up for Bud's January of 97. Get some winter.
Were you still 17?
I was 18.
Nice.
Yeah, got some winter class action on.
And well, you're from Santa Cruz, so it was not that big of a deal. Yeah, it's
great. Yeah, I never really laid in the ocean for extended periods of time without a wetsuit. But you know what? Even the training was everything that I thought it was going to be. I mean, I was happy to be there, and it hurt every single day, and it was extremely hard. But God, I'd pay money. I'd give you every penny I have right now to go back. Yeah. If I could turn back the clock right now, I would make exactly the same choices up until that point in my life.
Yeah.
Maybe they would change a little bit later on, but until that point, we're still going down the same road.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me that the other day. Some kid, I was talking to some school kids, and one of them said, what can I do to get ready for SEAL training? I was like, man, SEAL training is awesome. You get paid, you work out, you literally work out all day long. They feed you 3, if not 4 meals a day of all you can eat. Just get after it. It's awesome, man. It's so fun.
With aggressive, A-type, motivated, largely personalities surrounding you. It gets better as obviously the days and weeks go on in training. Some of the people who shouldn't be there are weeded out. But and then even the teams, it's like it can be everything that you want it to be.
Yeah.